Y'all, this is hail. This is hail. Do y'all hear that? I've never heard anything like this in my life. Can't even really see good.
Have you talked to your mom in it?
Hail came through the ceiling in our freaking kitchen, y'all. It just, hail just busted through the ceiling in our, dude. Everybody's sunroofs are busted out. This is like a freaking scene from a movie.
Welcome back with another banger. Hit that like, sub it up, don't react, bounce. Hit that like, sub it up, don't react, bounce. Y'all feel me? Let's run it!
Yep, what's pouring down from the sky in the US will mark the end for us. As experts warn, this is exactly what end-time scriptures had described, and we need to repent now. People were terrified after one of the strongest tornadoes and hailstorms in Illinois ripped rooftops clean off, smashed cars, and completely ripped buildings from the ground. With Revelation 16:21 warning that when great hail falls from heaven upon men, each weighing several pounds, alongside dire weather, the final hour is upon us, and this is it. Haunting reports show hail the size of baseballs to even bowling balls raining down at over a whopping 100 miles an hour, smashing not only the windows of cars and rooftops, but denting the cement on the ground, as if something or someone was making sure no one survived this. But it gets worse, as when the storm cleared, the only thing still remained tall was a cross and a church, despite everything around being rubble, warning that we need to beg for forgiveness and seek God now. Despite the fact that this is tornado season, many do believe it is far worse than others, but do you believe it's biblical?
This photo was taken at a concert celebrating Dia de los Muertos. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. The person in the photo said that a musician actually did a prayer to bring in spirits to come celebrate with them. They said he was bringing the spirits in to help people spiritually and emotionally, to heal their minds. And in one of the group photos they took, they actually captured a spirit in the photo, standing behind them smiling. Here's the spirit in question if you still don't see it. It has black around its eyes, black lips, gray skin. It either has long hair or a veil on it. Also looks like it has some sort of headdress on. While the people who took the photo believe that the spirit is not malevolent, so many people will tell you that it's not a good thing to summon spirits, because you don't know what kind of spirit you're summoning. They can get attached to you, so on and so forth. But I do have to say, I don't get a negative vibe from this spirit. It does look and feel like it's just there to enjoy its time at this party. What do you guys think?
It looks like it's having a great time. Shout out to Chelsea. Whoa, that's wild. Like, yo, I agree. Don't invite spirits to your party. That is pretty spooky.
This is why I stopped watching the news about 5 years ago.
Look, we're going to use the at least 59 people killed, at least 149 people
funny,
wounded. Those numbers are going to go up. There's just no question about that. I mean, you have fierce fighting in a number of locations around the country. You mentioned Chernobyl. Russian forces quickly overtaking that area. We understand they are still in control. The other thing that...
The FBI warning of possible Iranian drone attacks on our homeland. A new alert reviewed by ABC News revealing Iran's aspirations to conduct a surprise attack specifically against unspecified targets in California.
This has got to be one of the dumbest psyops of all time.
We've reviewed an alert that came within the last couple of weeks, Kira, just recently.
Hang on a quick second here. You guys heard that, right? He said that this bulletin supposedly came from within the last week or two. But then in this graphic right here, it says September 2025 bulletin. That was 6 months ago. And now they're making it sound like it's some new thing that just came up. Now they're just bringing it up like it's breaking news. That's a little weird and a little sus. This narrative that Iran could somehow strike California is actually a complete media fabrication. And we have the proof Quote, a source with knowledge of the memo, but not authorized to discuss it publicly, said that the warning was issued based on intelligence received by the United States Coast Guard. Law enforcement sources experienced in intelligence said such alerts are cautionary in nature. The source is experienced in counterterrorism and said that, quote, it's not been deemed credible at this time. The sources also stressed that the warning was cautionary and that there was no indication that Iran was planning an attack or if it even could successfully launch one. So what this is nothing more than, oh yeah, we had this feeling that Iran would like to attack us, even though they don't have the weapons to even pull off this attack. But they want to, though. And what this does is it gives fodder to traitors like Lindsey Graham to call for boots on the ground in Iran.
I go back to South Carolina. I'm asking them to send their sons and daughters over to the Mideast.
Yeah, it's easy to say something like that when you don't got no kids. Shout out to 5149 James Lee. Biggest question is where would the drones come from?
There's a game people say relate to Jeffrey Epstein and the rich elite's whole thing of being taken. Do you remember this game, BioShock?
Okay, yeah, I have seen that.
The whole game, it's about the rich elites, really rich Americans specifically.
Okay.
They live in an underwater world.
Yeah.
Almost like the island, water. All of the monsters they fight are little
You're lying.
What ties it in all together to Epstein is wild because there's a machine in the game that reveals fortunes. And it's called Epstein the Swami. And look what it looks like.
In the game.
I'm not even...
Oh, hell.
You know what I'm saying, though? You pretty much talk to it, and it will give you, like, quotes. And these are some of the quotes it says.
Oh, my.
Darling, just close your eyes and hope it's over quickly.
No.
Darling, just close your eyes and hope it's over quickly. Believe me when I tell you, I wouldn't want to be in your shoes.
Look at the bright side. Maybe it'll be quick and painless.
No, bro.
Have you picked a plot picked out yet? That means, like, have you picked a spot to...
Yeah,
like a plot.
Even crazier, what if those are actually emails?
It could be like some of the conversations.
That's what I'm saying.
We should put those quotes into the files and look.
Yeah.
Have you heard about The King of the Jews psyop? It's a book written by this man, Leslie Donald Epstein, who looks a lot like another Epstein we all know. The book is about a charismatic con artist called Donald Trump Elman. El in Hebrew means God. So Donald Trump, El, man, Trump, God, man. The book was published in 1979 when Donald Trump was 33 years old. Jesus Christ died when he was 33. The very first chapter in the book is called The Golden Age. The author, Leslie Donald Epstein, his father wrote Casablanca. Not only was Casablanca one of the most effective wartime propaganda films, it ties to another Casablanca, John Casablanca, who founded Elite Modeling Management, the same agency that tied to Trump's modeling pipeline, connecting circles with Jeffrey Epstein. There is also a character in the book called Mosk, sounds like Musk, the owner of 100,000 spindles. A spindle likely refers to a spindle top, a term that was used to represent oil fields in Texas. Not ironic that Elon owns over 90 companies in Texas. Elon claims that the singularity has already been reached, that moment when AI surpasses human intelligence. Could that mean that a quantum AI could time travel into the internet and change something like creating a book like this? Or did Leslie Donald Epstein really write this book, coincidentally creating all these connections for today?
Yeah, that's a good take right there. We learned about this in the last video. Shout out to symbolism syndrome. Time travel has become a big topic these days. It's crazy that it was written when the man was 33 years old. That's very interesting.
Rothschilds were trying to start a world war. Since 1885, because the Zionist International Congress at Basel, Switzerland, has called for 3 world wars. At the end of the Third World War, they would control the entire world. 1 billion Christians and fighting a war to the death against 1 billion Muslims, which will leave Israel in charge of the world, which was predicted at the 6th International Zionist Congress in Basel, Switzerland in 1896. So after Zionist Congress in 1896, you had World War I, World War II, and now we have World War III. At the end of World War I, the Rothschilds organized a number of groups called, one was the Royal Institute of International Affairs in London. It's called Chatham House, and that is the think tank of all of Europe today. And although its headquarters in London, the real headquarters are in Brussels, which is the headquarters of the Lambert family, which is part of the Rothschild family.
But if we didn't do what we're doing right now, you would have had a nuclear war and they would have...
They don't have nukes. Nukes are fake. I've covered that many times. There's no nukes. If nukes were real, they would have used them a long time ago. All they did was they firebomb places like they're doing to Iran right now, and they just dropped like 1,000 bombs on their place, just like they did in Japan.
On the night of the 9th of March, the Americans dropped 1,700 tons of incendiary bombs. Some 16 square miles of Tokyo were destroyed.
And they just level it. Kind of like Gaza. That's kind of what they did too. There's no nukes. What they do is they take 1 million pounds of TNT, they put it out into the middle of the desert, they explode it, they show a mushroom cloud, because it's an explosion, and then they say that was the nuke. And they say, put on your glasses, just like those DuPont Eclipse glasses. Put on your glasses, because that explosion's going to be pretty big. That's it. There's no nukes. I hate to say it. There's no nukes. And all they do is they pull that whole thing. Every time they want to invade a country, they're like, we're going to nuke them. With what? With your invisible nukes. Otherwise, they would have did it already. Think about it. It would have been used. If you could just level an entire country in 1 second, they would do it. The thing is what we live in is like the Wizard of Oz, okay? We live in the Wizard of Oz. And in the Wizard of Oz, you have this man hiding behind this thing, pretending to be this thing that he's allegedly is. But in reality, they're not any of that.
Human life started in the Americas but was reset. The world was reset several times. Eventually, so-called Atlantis fell and fractured into factions. After a major reset, civilization collapsed on the West Coast and there was a massive migration east. America is the original Rome, Greece, Egypt, Israel, etc. Rome is Edom. Look at the Doeg Indians of the DC area. Look who Doeg is in the Bible. Edom or Esau was ruddy. Ruddy is copper-colored, red-brown. Many Edomites are listed as Negro on their birth and death certificates. Rome took over Greece, which was centered in Philadelphia, the original capital of the country. City Hall was built by the previous owners. There are no construction photos. The building was already completed before they put the scaffolding up. It is an old world building. Colonization happened inwardly first and then went into Europe. That's why we see so-called Roman architecture as far as China. Look, there are Noah equivalents or survivors of the flood for hundreds of cultures. Scots actually came from North America into Europe. The real Scots were like King Charles, so-called black. The original Scots weren't the lowlanders. They were the highlanders. The Bible is from the Americas. All the events in it were in the Americas. See? Some of the original copies are dedicated to King Charles. Look. King James brought us the Protestant Bible. King James was King Charles's grandfather. The Scots landed in Ireland first and brought the Gaelic Bible. The Bible of today is a quadruple paraphrase remix of the American autochthonous Bible. It got turned into the Sir Francis Bacon Shakespearean astro-theologian Bible that we see today, which was an effort to make the Sinite script seem like the original version of the Bible, to make it Canaanite-centric, phony, or Phoenician, to further hide the true origins. These so-called black Celts settled into Iberia, but nobody ever talks about the two Iberias. The Shem and Ham zones need to be brought up a little higher, but you get the picture. Look. Eber was all over. Eber is the great-grandson of Shem. The Caucasus were part of the kingdom of Iberia. These are Iberians or Caucasians. Caucasians? Caucasians. Real ones? Cosplay. They built these. Real Caucasians are so-called black. The world wars were an attempt to whitewash the history, to genocide the link of their origins. You melanated people built these. Stuff like this. See? The construction story of this building makes no sense. Biggest building on Earth built by communists, supposedly. The Far East was also developed by you melanated peoples, but their mutant slaves took over in the reset. After all the resets and reset wars, the leadership was weakened. The mutant slave versions of all these peoples teamed up to usurp the thrones and reset and invert the history. After the reset that took Rome down, Roman slaves throughout Europe set up enclaves like Ashkenaz. William of Orange was one of the many to lead mutant revolutions, which led to this. Ish people are grafts. The grafts are the mutants that revolted worldwide, from William of Orange to today. They were positioned like drone armies to wipe the history. The reset wars were fomented by you melanated people that wanted a new world order. They used their graft mutant militias to circumvent karma, like King Saul used Doeg. They need isn't real for the identity theft scheme, keeping the lie going until the next reset, sooner than later.
Sooner than later? Are we at the threshold? Is it knocking at the door? Shout out to Taylor Durden, bringing out these gems.
The entire chip industry is about to shut down, and everybody is panicking. Get some notes so everybody can understand how truly fucked we are. Stay with me here. No helium, no semiconductors, no phones, no AI, no future. Samsung and SK Hynix just went on high alert. Chips carrying helium have stopped moving through the Gulf. Helium is used to cool semiconductor manufacturing equipment. Without it, chip fabs cannot operate. There is no substitute for helium in this process, people. Keep this in mind. South Korea makes 60% of the world's memory chip. Helium stopped shipping. Chip fabs slow production within days. Nvidia can't get enough memory chips. cars. AI data centers can't get enough GPUs. Apple can't build iPhones. Tesla can't build cars. Every cloud server, every laptop, every smart device delayed. A $600 billion semiconductor industry grinding to a halt because of a nation that your administration wants you to think is an easy target. Statistically, this is worse than the 2021 chip shortage. This one is caused by a war blocking the raw materials from even reaching the factory. Being a key point, people, it's not just helium, it's neon, it's palladium, it's every rare gas that ships through the Gulf and the Red Sea. Iran didn't need to fire a single missile at a chip factory. They just had to make the shipping lanes too dangerous to cross. The AI arms race, the chip war with China, the $2 trillion tech rally. All of it depends on a gas that nobody can ship right now. Just think about this, right? In an 11-day period, this is how many missile and precision strikes there've been. Go ahead and add those up real quick and tell me how much you think each missile costs. It's not including interceptors, by the way. Keep in mind, they have to constantly refuel, which obviously costs even more money. That isn't already enough money being wasted. You can take this into consideration. 82% of the world's sulfur, by the way, comes from oil and gas refining. Sulfur, sulfuric acid. Without sulfuric acid, you can't extract copper, cobalt, and nickel. Without those metals, no transformers, no EV batteries, no data center substrates, no electronics, period. Notice how China and Russia are watching from afar. This shit impacts Taiwan and Japan as well, if you didn't know. Thai cargo ships struck in Strait of Hormuz. The Iranian military warns people to stay at least 1 kilometer away from U.S.-linked banks in the Middle East. Mind what I just told you, okay? Gulf countries are dangerously running low on missile interceptors and are being forced to choose which incoming threats to shoot down. Oil tankers and cargo ships are asking for help from the U.S. Navy. Now we're having discussions of mines being in those waters. BRICS is playing chess while using this one nation as a proxy, while the United States and the Western powers are playing fucking checkers. Honestly, I wouldn't even consider it to be checkers at this point. How much money has been given to everywhere else other than us? I'm not trying to sound selfish or greedy. All of the world's wealth in itself should be distributed equally. I'm gonna do a video on JFK and why we ended up in this position to begin with. Probably make it like a 10-minute video. So just keep a lookout. Iran has strategically prepared for every scenario. Not doubting another nation and another nation's people, especially if you don't fucking know any of them. Stop feeding in the motherfucking Western propaganda, people. That is literally why we are in this motherfucking position to begin with.
He makes a great point. They playing chess. We playing checkers. Shout outs to Beauty Marked.
The war in the Middle East is showing just how powerful a weapon oil continues to be, one that is capable of rattling the entire global economy. This is despite a shift in where the world's energy comes from. And you can see that here in this chart showing global energy supply, which includes oil, coal, natural gas, and a combination of renewables and nuclear energy. So why are we still so impacted by oil? The big challenge is that about 20% of the world's oil comes from the Persian Gulf. And right now, that supply has been all but choked off. It's this risk point that energy experts have been worried about for a very long time. Many of the points of vulnerabilities actually look really similar to what they did many decades ago. In 1973, there was an oil embargo led by Saudi Arabia that blocked the United States from accessing oil produced in those countries and sent oil prices soaring around the world. At that time, oil actually met almost half of the world's energy needs, but this pushed countries around the world to try to find alternatives. By 2024, oil falls to around 30% as other sources meet a growing share of the world's energy demand. While our mix has shifted considerably, we consume a lot more energy. Our oil consumption has actually almost doubled in that time. You can see that in 1973, the world used less than 60 million barrels per day. And that has climbed to just over 100 million barrels per day in 2024. How our energy mix shifts in response to this war will depend on how long the disruptions last and how high prices go. But it is a reminder of the additional risk associated with energy produced outside of a country's borders.
Her and tell her, hey, Erica, maybe like sit down. She's trying to say, hey, actually, I'm pretty educated. I've earned this. Except according to Arizona State University records from 2011 to 2012, the academic catalog, ASU didn't offer a bachelor's degree in international relations or foreign affairs at that time. The program did not exist when she says she graduated from it. And her name is not on the summa cum laude honors list for that year either. So she didn't just stretch the truth a little bit. She invented a degree in a program that the school wasn't even offering. And she has been telling people about it for over 10 years. And then Candace Owens, of all people, comes out with documentation showing every college Erica Kirk attended and the dates: Regis University in Colorado, Arizona State, Liberty University in Virginia, and the enrollment dates all overlap. She would have had to be attending multiple schools at the same time, while also modeling, while living in another country, while trying to get on TV, while allegedly running a clothing company. It just doesn't add up. And the timeline is physically impossible. So when you put all that together, you've got a woman with a degree that she made up in a program that doesn't exist. Some institution out there looked at all of that and said, yes, her. That's who we want talking to our students. That institution that's like, this is what we want, that institution is Hillsdale College. It is a small, private, conservative Christian school in Michigan that has quietly turned itself into one of the biggest far-right pipelines in the entire country. They were involved in drafting Project 2025. They have a course about how Marxism is destroying America. They spent years straight up refusing federal funding, saying, we don't want federal funding. You keep your money, government, because we want to keep our racism. They literally said, we do not want federal funding, specifically because they didn't want to follow anti-discrimination laws. They didn't land on Erica Kirk by accident. They looked at the sea of potential commencement speakers and they said, we want the wackiest bee we could find. And they picked her because she is exactly who they want to speak to their students and send them off into the world. They want Erica Kirk in front of their students on purpose. She's handed her dead husband's platform and she wanted the fame so badly. She wanted the attention badly enough that she never stopped pushing on the backs of people to give it to her. She is their commencement speaker, and Hillsdale is calling it an honor. And if you think Erica Kirk has been given way too many microphones and press opportunities and stages, then leave us a comment. 6 words or more. Hit that subscribe button. We cannot grow without your support. We bootstrap this operation.
I find that wild. At this point, it makes you wonder, who is this lady? Shout outs to I Am Lauren P. Shout outs to Candace Owens.
The United States have an inverse pyramid. Okay? Meaning that ear is what's dominant, then navel, then armor, then soldiers. You can't fight a war like this. I mean, the moment you choose to fight a war like this, you've lost the war. Because you either take out the country in like 2 days, or you scoot over, because you cannot replenish your forces. Now, I know this is hard to understand, but 1991, the Persian Gulf War, 2003, the Iraq War, these are not real wars, okay? Because the Americans were so dominant and Iraq was so weak that it was basically a video game, all right? It was just these pilots flying around, just bombing everything, okay? It's like guys in tanks just running over the Iraqi army. Those were just video games. But this Iran thing is a real war. And therefore, you cannot fight a war like this. If you want to win this war, the only thing you can do is return to a realistic cost pyramid. You don't have a choice in the matter, right? Because again, your cheapest product are soldiers, right? And your most expensive are airplanes. You cannot afford to lose an airplane in order to save a life of a soldier. Eventually, this cost-benefit analysis will blow up on you, okay? Does that make sense, guys? All right, so if the United States wants to win this war, then it has no choice but to use ground troops, to use soldiers as the main force of its military.
The two negotiators with Iran were Trump's son-in-law and Trump's golf partner. During the Obama administration, they handed over vast amounts of American taxpayer money to build this Iron Dome defense system, which is taking out so many of Iran's attacks on Israel. But you imagine what Israel would be like now without the interceptor system. It would be in a state of devastation. Any attack on Iran could not have happened before that was in place. So we come to Trump's second term, owned lock, stock, and DNA by Israel. The two negotiators with Iran to try to get a deal and stop a war were Steve Witkoff, Trump's golf partner, to negotiate a war not taking place. But the other negotiator, without any title whatsoever, was Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, a lifelong friend of Benjamin Netanyahu, because his father, Charles Kushner, a convicted felon, was a mate way back of Benjamin Netanyahu and was pardoned by Donald Trump and now is the US ambassador to France. We are told to believe we're trying to negotiate peace with Iran. Not a chance. It was just window dressing before current events took place.
The U.S. bank building in LA, that is the most likely false flag target, because guess who bought that building in 2020? The Zork, Larry Silverstein, the same pig who bought the World Trade Center buildings even though they were filled with asbestos months before 9/11 and cashed out for billions of dollars. This same pig bought the U.S. bank building in LA in 2020. This is going to be the false flag target that they're going to use to justify going into Iran with ground troops and even a potential nuke. Also, the Zorks have locked down Al-Aqsa for weeks now, apparently. And the rumors is that they have been wiring it up for demolition to blow that up as well, to get the Sunni Muslim world against Iran and the Shia. So that's what's cooking right now, all so that we don't pay attention to Trump and the Epstein class.
Of course, this is all allegedly, hypothetically speaking. Once again, you have a script with the same writers and actors in it. Same plays from the old playbook. If I worked or lived anywhere and that man's name was on it, I'm getting out. I'm praying nothing like this happens. It's at the stage where it's like, prove me wrong. God forbid anything like that happens to that particular property. We'll come back and look at this video. Shout out to Good Bad Shah.
I worked second shift and I saw a lot of crazy shit. You go to work drunk. You could go to work drunk off your ass. Everybody there except the older people were drunk. Yes. Down to the meat. I knew I wasn't going to work there for long when I told that little dumbass supervisor, he was younger than me. When I started working at Tyson, I was 23 years old. My supervisor was younger than me, so you know he was stupid as fuck. Anyway, I told him the meat was green and yellow and pussy and it had holes in it, like deep holes. That's cancer. So when we showed that to our supervisor, I was like, run it anyway. If you got cancer and you ate McDonald's or wherever Tyson Foods distributed meat regularly, it was probably the motherfucking meat. I ain't lying. I said, oh, fuck. And then when it come out them big ass cans, and I worked where you had to push the shit in this big ass blender and push it on down the line. It was motherfucking terrible. It got so bad, McDonald's was sending the shit back. If you eat at McDonald's now, your stomach should feel a little bit better. Because when I worked there years ago, McDonald's was sending the meat back because the meat was smelling horrible and it was terrible. But that's just some of the shit that I've seen. I've been waiting to expose Tyson. We can make this a series if you want to, but we're going to start here. This part 1.
She said the chicken was green. That's wild. Everybody was drunk. No one cared. McDonald's was sending meat back. You know that's saying a lot.
Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! انهدام النفط امریکایی در
Most people think they know where to go when things get bad, but the wrong choice can be a death sentence. Here are 5 places you should never go when disaster strikes. Share this with others in case of a collapse. Number 1, big box stores and grocery stores. The second panic sets in, these places will become war zones as people fight over the last scraps. And once the shelves are empty, the looters take over. You didn't stock up before the crisis, it's already too late. Number 2, hospitals. Sounds safe, right? Wrong. Hospitals will quickly be overwhelmed, and if the power's out, the staff will leave, and the infected and desperate people will turn the entire place into a nightmare. Unless you absolutely need medical care, stay far away. Number 3 would be highways and major roads. Your instinct is going to be to take the fastest route out of town, but that's exactly what everyone else is going to be thinking. Highways will become miles of gridlock, and once you're stuck, you're vulnerable. Stay off the main roads and plan alternate routes now. Number 4, police stations and military bases. When the collapse hits, don't assume that law enforcement will be able to help you. They'll be focused on their own survival. Many stations will go on lockdown and they'll turn people away. And if martial law is declared, you might not get out. Number 5, bridges and tunnels. Choke points become death traps. One accident or blocked car and you're stuck with nowhere to go. Worse, desperate or evil people will set up ambushes in these areas. If you need to cross, do it early before the chaos begins. Survival is about making smart choices before it's too late. Have a plan and stay ahead of the crowd.
Have a plan and get ahead of the crowd. Shout out to Prepper Press.
You guys, Iran just trolled Trump over his Epstein ties and implied that the real reason he started the war was to distract from the Epstein files. So look at this Lego-style propaganda video that just aired on Iranian state TV. So in that, you can see Trump, Netanyahu, and Satan looking at the Jeffrey Epstein files, and then Trump becomes enraged and presses a red button and sends a missile to Iran. And then we see that missile hit the Iranian girls' school, which, as News Girls reported earlier this week, U.S. intelligence does believe the U.S. unintentionally hit that on the first day of this conflict. Now, obviously, all of this is pro-Iran propaganda. I'm not even going to show the rest of the video because it's just so blatant. But what's notable about this is the first time the Iranian regime itself has pushed the narrative that Trump started the war to distract from the Epstein files, even though other pro-Iranian networks have been weaponizing the scandal online for quite a while. In fact, X is flooded with AI videos of Trump and Epstein together, or Trump with blindfolded little girls, and what's extra insidious about these is that they're part AI, part based on like real photos, so it makes it way harder to identify them as fake. And researchers say pro-Iran networks spread these videos to sow distrust in the US government and basically erode public support for the war in Iran. What's interesting is Iran is not the only adversary that does this. Russia and China also push conspiracies with the intent of dividing the country. Just one more reason to be hyper vigilant of what you believe when you're on the internet. We here at News Girls will keep talking about Iran and Epstein and covering them from every angle, so follow to stay in the loop.
Shout out to newsgirls.reports. I guess this could explain a Call of Duty post and the bowling post. Either way, propaganda is at an all-time high right now.
I bet you didn't know this. Watch this to the end.
I'm reading Tiny Hats Selling the Slaves. Oh yeah, they forgot to mention all of this in the Rockefeller schools. And people say that's not true. Well, you should read this one. This guy was a rabbi who wrote this one. And you know the term layaway? That came from when rabbis were selling slaves. Yes. And this has pages and pages of all the auctions and the rabbis selling the slaves. Check this. Jacob Coven, okay, owned a plantation. Yes, all the plantations were ran by the Tiny Hats. 294 enslaved Africans. He was the president of the synagogue. You can just look this stuff up. And what got even deeper is I found Charleston, 1825. That was the original place of the slave marts. And they own the merchants, they own the ships, they own everything. And look at this. Charleston, Tiny Hat, slave traders. Now, since the Tiny Hats own all the newspapers, if they tried to run away, they'd put an ad up.
trying to get the slaves back. Then it got deeper when I found out that the tiny hats owned the police too. So if people tried to run away, they owned both sides. And it's wild because there was only 2 people who actually spoke up about this. That's why it's hidden from you. And also when Christopher Columbus came over here, now you understand who Christopher Columbus was. And this is why the tiny hats, the Charzarians, have been kicked out of all these countries. Now you start to understand.
I didn't know that at all. Shout outs to Cultivate Elevate. Shout outs to Mark the Messenger. It's like a great awakening right now. So much is coming up.
梅田センタービル北西あたり新御堂筋の下です。この画像の正面にあるように、昨夜、地下からこの橋脚のようなものが突然せり上がってきたということです。周辺は全面通行止め騒然となっております。以上、現地から。
Looks like this is obviously about to sound fake right now, but China just turned on a machine that creates 1900 times Earth's gravity underground. Did you even know that that existed? So these researchers in China just finished building something that shouldn't be possible. 50 feet underground, they installed a brand new $285 million machine that's called Chief 1900. This is a hypergravity centrifuge that generates forces 1900 times stronger than Earth's gravity, and for context, your washing machine does too. It works like a giant spinning arm with a radius of about 20 feet. They load multi-ton scale models into it and they spin them at speed so intense that the machine had to be buried underground just to stop the vibrations from destroying everything around it. They had to build a custom vacuum cooling system because this thing generates so much heat that it would melt its own components. Now this is the crazy part and why it actually matters, because they can put a 10-foot model of a 1,000-foot dam on this machine and spin it. And whenever they spin it, they're able to watch decades of structural damage happen in just hours. Earthquakes, landslides, nuclear waste storage, they're compressing centuries of geological stress into days, and scientists are calling it a machine that compresses space and time. Okay. Meanwhile, all of this is happening. NASA is still trying to figure out how to get a rocket off the launch pad.
Okay, time to go Super Saiyan. Shout out to Nick Jackson.
If I go down the creek and I see something like this standing there, I'm getting the fuck out. I'm going. A woman went to the creek with her family. She went to her usual swimming hole. But while she was there, she noticed a woman just standing in the creek. Now, she said this woman was very pale, almost gray, and she was in some type of dark robes, which was crazy because she said it was almost 100 degrees outside. She said they swam in their swimming hole for a while. The woman did not move, did not look at them, nothing. When finally she decided to start yelling at her, going, hey, hey. And she didn't bat an eyelash. She didn't move. Now, obviously, this could simply be somebody just standing there for a few hours, completely still and not reacting to people yelling at her. But what sense would that make? The craziest part about this whole story, though, is she said she gathered the kids, told them to come on, packed up their stuff, looked over again right before they left, and the woman was gone. She said it took no more than 2 minutes of her not looking at this person for them to completely disappear. What do you think's going on here? Let me know. And as always, don't forget to like and follow for more creepy content. Good night.
I think that spirit met its demise in that water. It was envious of life. Shout out to Chelsea. Whoa, that's wild.
Insane. So the president is basically insinuating that we have to wait for the terror attack on California before we can actually do something about it. And did you know, completely unrelated, that the 33rd parallel runs right through California? And completely unrelated again, did you know the Trinity test site for the first nuclear weapon was 33.3 parallel? You know, New Mexico? Sorry, 33.6. And did you know that Roswell, the whole alien thing, by the way, you know, we have this coming supposed invasion, was also 33.3 parallel. You know what I'm talking about. You know, Werner von Braun, Aleister Crowley, Jack Parsons, all up in the desert, wearing half their clothes, opening portals for demons to come through. Remember? And then the president says that we think we know where most of them are. And of course, they all came to the border the last 4 years.
President Trump, what have you heard about this bulletin that some law enforcement put out about a possible Iran revenge plot in California, where there would be some kind of a boat offshore launching drones towards the...
It's being investigated, but you have a lot of things happening, and all we can do is take them as they come, and the war itself is being prosecuted.
Well, hold on. If you know where they are and you say you do, why not take care of the problem now instead of waiting for it to happen?
That have you been briefed about how many Iran sleeper cells there could be inside the U.S. right now?
I have been, and a lot of people came in through Biden with his stupid open border. But we know where most of them are. We've got our eye on all of them, I think.
Is it jumping?
You remember what those file drops said about Biden? Yeah, that was weird. You remember what Natalie said about her dad? That was weird too. So the honest question is, how did they really get in the border? Make sure you get this out there, because I think it's a given at this point that something is going to happen for sure. By the way, the president told them to go ahead and go through Strait of Hormuz, it'll be fine. And then all of a sudden, look behind me. Yeah.
FBI warning of possible Iranian drone attacks on our homeland. A new alert reviewed by ABC News revealing Iran's aspirations to conduct a surprise attack specifically against unspecified targets in California.
Iran. Totally Iran. Oh, a little bonus. Remember Baghdad? Yeah? Baghdad is the 33rd parallel. You can't make this up.
This world is such a, and when I say this world, I mean it. I don't mean in an ideal sense. I mean in every day, every little thing you do. It's such a, gimme, gimme, gimme. Everybody back off. You know, everybody's like, you taught that from school, everywhere. Big business. If you want to be successful, you want to be like Trump, gimme, gimme, gimme. Push, 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 push. Step, step, step. Crush, crush, crush. That's how it all lives. Nobody ever stopped. It's too much money here. I mean, nobody should be hitting lotto for 36 million and we got people starving in the streets. That is not idealistic, that's just real. That is just stupid. There's no way Michael Jackson should have, or whoever Jackson, should have $1,000,000 billion and then there's people starving. There's no way. There's no way that these people should own planes and their people don't have houses, apartments, shacks, drawers, pants.
You say people say, well, they earned it. Now you go out here and earn it.
If they earned it, then I think that that's good, and I think that they deserve it. But even if you earned it, you still owe. Because look at me, I don't have that mega money, but I feel guilty walking by somebody. I gotta give them some mail. And if I know I got $3,000 in my pocket, I feel like it's wrong to give that person a quarter or $1. It's wrong. You understand it? We all know how hard it is, and it's not about if you good or you bad. I mean, can you imagine somebody having $32 million and this person has nothing and you can sleep?
And that's a wrap. Hope you enjoyed the deep dive. If you enjoyed this video, please consider to give it a like, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit the notification bell. Shout outs to all the reactors. Thanks again. Till next time.